is one piece, but let me start where Ronaldo was. I mean, I was the chairman of Infoseek, which was a search engine. And the first business model of Infoseek was we tried to charge the user per search. And we're like, why aren't they paying? Why isn't our business model working? And then it took us a while to figure out that I wasn't involved at the time, but oh yeah, maybe we advertise and the user pays us through. The broken business model, as long as you figure out how. The business model is the easy part. Once you've got value, once you've got people who want your music, wants to participate, go to concerts, you can figure out something, right? And one of the things is very similar. I recently went to China and talked to one of the biggest music promoters there. 95% of the CDs are copied. The 5% who buy can buy copies, but they don't because they're fans, right? And the fans will pay. They'll pay more. They'll pay more than the premium. And what's very interesting also is because they have state-owned media, so they can't promote the music. Only the good music is copied. So you can't promote bad music. It's very difficult, right? So actually, if you look at the street music in China, the singer-songwriters that are actually very talented, their music lasts a lot longer, decades, right? And I kind of think the Chinese music is actually better than the music that we get in Japan and Taiwan, right? Because it's not promoted. It's word of mouth, right? And so from a culture perspective, actually, even though the business model is slightly broken, it works to create good music. And in fact, like Ronaldo says, they make money on endorsements, on products, and the core fans pay more. Right. There's another very similar version, which is the Japanese anime community. They used to do when we did Pokemon. They used to try to get $1 from millions of people. But they said, wait, you know what? We found out that these otaku will pay thousands of dollars if we target them. So what they've done is they've gone from taking lots of big market, little revenue, to core fans who want a relationship and taking more. So you can actually twist the curve and think about the music in China, for instance, as a promotion. If you think very sort of broadly, and this is kind of out of the box, but if you think of an MP3 as metadata about the artist, right? And the artist's performance and products and relationship and fan clubs as the real product. Because that's what the internet is about. It's about developing relationships directly between the artist and the user. And because of the problem, one of the things, I'm sorry I'm going a little bit off the Creative Commons thing, but when you have this Sony BMG brand between you and the artist, right? The value of this relationship goes down. It becomes very kind of commercial. If that goes away, you're willing, if you know it's going to the artist, you're willing to pay more, right? And I think we have lots of things like magnitude and all these things. People pay actually more than they have to if they know it's going directly to the artist. And so I think you need to kind of think, wait, if we change a couple of these things, does the dynamic completely change? And we need to experiment, right? So that's kind of one foundation thing I would say. And the other thing that I would add is that as we get fast internet, P2P, every single song in the whole world in our iPod in the next 5 years or something like that, then it's no longer a delivery problem. It used to be a delivery problem, so the delivery guys were in charge, right? But once you have it available within seconds, any song, then what it is a discovery problem, right? How do you find the song you want? And as a musician, how do you get to the people who like your music? That's where the value is, right? And when you think about business models, you should think about where is the value. And the discovery problem is actually very hard. So I used to be a disc jockey in a nightclub, and I used to get 250 records every single month, and they would come to my club and ask me to put it on the tape to distribute. Real sort of grassroots independent music is about wanting to be copied, right? That's the fundamental sort of marketing, and it's only this mainstream media, the MTV generation, where you had a monopoly on people's attention, where you could cram Madonna down their throats until they didn't know anything else. But if you look at music since 2001, the hits have continued to decline, right? So we're forcing diversity through the internet and multiple channels. That whole star thing is going away, right? So now our problem is not about how do we collect, how do we deliver. The problem is how do you become famous, how do you become well-known. It doesn't even have to be famous. How do you find the 100 people who would probably like your music? And that's word of mouth, right? That's about, and so one of the key licenses for music, I think that we have two. One is a sampling license and one is a non-commercial license, which for Creative Commons, basically most musicians, when you ask them, say, I don't mind if my music is sampled as long as I get attribution. But the record industry says, no, you can't do that, we'll come and sue you, right? And then the other one, which is a non-commercial use license, I think in Brazil, a lot of people are using it. It's basically, it's free to share, for non-commercial use, like blogs and podcasts. But if somebody wants to make a CD or use it on a television show or use it in a commercial, they have to pay. And that license is actually interesting because the share of licensing of music is actually huge. It's a double-digit percentage of the music industry. And so if you're sitting around trying to protect something that no one knows about, you're not going to make any money anyway. And if you distribute it for non-commercial use, that's actually a very good way to legally do what we're, you know, I don't know, the big secret about music label guys is, on the one hand, they're going around suing P2P, but on the other hand, the A&R guys are uploading all the music to the P2P file sharing because that's the only way anybody gets to know about the music. You know, this is this crazy kind of conflict between the legal guys and the marketing guys. So if you talk to the marketing guys know that you have to get the music out there somehow, right? And so what we're doing at Creative Commons is we're saying, we want to provide the artist with a choice, right? So if you're so famous that you don't need to get more famous, you're Madonna, you're whoever, yes, of course, you can protect all your rights and you have a demand, right? If you're slightly less famous and you want the podcasters to use your music for free, you can use a non-commercial use license. Or maybe if you want to be a little bit more restrictive but allow people to sample your music, you can create that license. But if you're like me and you're an amateur and I'm not doing it for the money, then you can say, I just want attribution. And this attribution license is actually quite important because I think one of the other problems that I find in the professional, not just music, but professional media industry is because you get paid, they treat you like a contractor, right? So a lot of people say, hey, we pay you, shut up. You know, like professional photographers, I talk to a lot of professional photographers and they're treated like crap, right? They're like, okay, they don't pay you that very much money anyway. And they say, you can't use any of your photos for anything else. We're not going to actually put your name on there, and you don't own any of the rights for anything. And by the way, you know, it's terrible, this relationship. And for me, I would rather not get paid the $10 and get attribution, because if I'm a budding photographer, I would much rather be in the New York Times with my name on it, and still be able to use the photographs later, than to get paid, you know, $100 and have to do it. And so I think that should be the choice of the artist. And one of the problems that I find, which is a really kind of the thing that hurts me the most, by the way, and this is kind of a discussion I'd like to have at some point, is that a lot of photographers are now sending me hate mail. Because I take a lot of pictures and I put them online under a Creative Commons license. And they say, well, you're taking our work away, right? So this is kind of an interesting dialogue, which is the amateur versus the professional. I mean,